Hello, how you guys doing? Hope you're having a good evening, good day to you. Well, I've been wanting to get around to this video for a while. And just to say, boy, I feel for the people in New York City, boy, you in for a doozy. If you elect this guy, there's been so many reports about this guy, Mamdani. Ooh, between New York City and Minneapolis, Minnesota, you got some stuff on your hands. Let's go.
Has an executive order barring, I think New York State from doing business with any company suspected of sympathizing with BDS. One thing I can do as a legislator is once we build up a large enough coalition for this, we overturn that executive order.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Nissan Black Show. Always a pleasure to be with you. Sometimes it feels like we are living in the twilight zone. Sometimes it feels as if things are not actually real as they're happening. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Zohran Mamdani. Zohran Mamdani. I cannot believe what's happening is actually happening. And as I said before, he is everything that I thought that he was and more. He's even more sinister, he's even more corrupt, he's even more evil than what I thought, and he's even much more of a jihadist than I thought. And I'm going to prove it for you today. I'm actually going to show you clip after clip. And I don't know if it's actually going to change, his standing right now as he's running for mayor. I don't know if it's actually going to change. But at least I would not be able to live with myself if I did not show you this. I will not be able to live with myself. And New York, I'm asking you, please wake up. Please wake up. Because you are about to make a decision that could quite possibly change the whole entire face of everything that New York was ever known for. And I'm telling you right now, I'm not a fearmonger guy. Like that's not even something that I would actually like to inject into you. And I want to be hopeful, and things ultimately will be good because God is the one ruling the world. However, this is already a mistake. It's already a mistake. Zohran Mamdani was on a Zoom call before he was elected, or before he started his race as mayor. He said things over there that are very, very revealing. Things that are very revealing of what his agenda was, how he got to where he was. And I'm not going to just tell you about it. I am going to show you for yourself. I'm going to show you, because there's no way in the world that a man like this, with all this propaganda, and it's everything we were speculating, things that people were saying, but now you're about to hear from the horse's mouth himself, unfortunately.
It can be a very lonely and isolating experience. I'm very lucky in that I have 5 other DSA-endorsed comrades who are with me in the Assembly and in the State Senate. But, for example, before we were elected, Julia Salazar was in office for 2 years without a single other socialist endorsed by DSA and standing. It then makes it much easier to run a campaign that will be built around raising class consciousness, because we will run the campaign challenging the current status quo and showcasing it through our critique how this is an issue of capitalism.
And this is exactly what I'm saying. He wants to stack the Senate, so to speak, the state Senate, obviously, with more socialists, right, to be able to push his agenda, right? The agenda against capitalism, the agenda that pushes away you being able to control your future with your finances and be able to build a business in the way that you want. He wants to be able to stack the Senate with other like-minded people in order that he should be able to bring about radical change. Keyword, radical.
Question. So there are 107 Democrats in the New York State Assembly out of 150 Assembly people. And of those 107 Democrats, there are 6 DSA endorsed electeds and 7 DSA members. We have the 7th person who's a DSA member, though she wasn't endorsed by DSA. Her name is Jessica Gonzalez-Rojas. We clearly do not have the numbers as they are in this moment to win the radical legislation that we need to bring about.
Meaning they do not have enough socialists, right, in the Senate. Not have enough socialists. Just keep it in perspective.
And begin to believe that these kinds of results are sufficient. We have to continue to elect more socialists, and we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. Now, we had an academic boycott campaign and one of the aspects of that was to fight to stop stop study abroad at universities in Israel that were complicit in the occupation, many of which through the development of weapons technology for the IDF. Now, by bringing the issue of...
I hope you listen. To bring the issue of, listen.
Israel, Palestine, apartheid, to vote it. You bring it front and center, it's harder to ignore. And then making sure that we move to dismantle that relationship. Those are things that you can do as a legislator, right? You can, like, for example, Governor Cuomo has an executive order barring, I think New York State from doing business with any company suspected of sympathizing with BDS.
Barring any companies or any organizations, right, that are complicit with the BDS, right, which we know is an enemy of America, enemy of Israel for sure, enemy to Jews for sure, also to America. There's a reason why Cuomo did that. He's trying to protect American interests, right? Mamdani, I hope you guys are watching this. Please listen to what this man has to say.
One thing I can do as a legislator is once we build up enough, to build up a large enough coalition for this, we overturn that executive order. But I sincerely believe in this political project. I sincerely believe in socialism. For me, it was Palestine that brought me into this movement.
See, this is the same person who, as he's asked these days, he's got no opinion. I have no opinion on whether or not Hamas should put them. I have no opinion. I'm worried about the state of me. I have no opinion. What brought him into the movement? What brought him into wanting to make these radical changes? Palestine. This is what brought him into it. And this is the reason why he doesn't denounce the terrorism. This is the reason why he doesn't denounce, jihadism and terrorism. This is the reason why. Because this is what brought him in. I hope you're listening.
It can be such a lonely experience to be a socialist, and it was for me, country, because
it's a failed process already. Socialism is a failed attempt. We've already seen it. It's failed over and over again. This is the reason why socialism. You guys are about to vote for this guy.
Journey, as Zohran alluded to and referred to, in organizing began at my college campus with Students for Justice in Palestine to power this journey and understanding that it is socialism that we are fighting for this moment right now, right? If we're talking about the cancellation of student debt, if we're talking about Medicare for all, these are issues which have the groundswell of popular support across this country. But then there are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right, or whether it's the end goal of ceasing the means of production.
And this is exactly what we thought it was. And he's saying it here out loud. Now, you notice that in these meetings, nobody's appalled by this. It's because there are obviously other people that, you see, the people were saying that we are dealing with socialists right now. Marxist socialists. Black Lives Matter, Antifa, we saw that this was all coming, but we were saying it, we knew this, we understood it, and we were recognizing what it was. Mamdani runs openly saying that this is what he is, and now we're seeing even more that this has been a plan all along. And there's a bigger plan at play here. The bigger plan is to usurp and to destroy the United States of America. This is what's at play right here. Is to conquer and destroy the United States of America.
Wow.
Hey, Alicia Little here, and I'm excited to announce that the third annual AI and Marketing Summit is here.
You're tuning into Black and White Sports on YouTube. The no-holds-barred truth on sports. The main event starts now.
Well, guys, let's talk about the NBA, namely the New York Knicks. Now, the future of New York City is not looking bright. No matter who actually wins the mayoral election that's going to be coming up in New York City, it's going to be a lose for New Yorkers. You got the choice between the disgraced former governor, Andrew Cuomo, out there in New York City. He is way behind in the polls. Way behind. frontrunner, though, guys, is an outright communist. Zohran Mamdani. He is the face of the Democratic Party. This man is a devout Marxist, and he's going to win the election in New York City. New York City, guys, has fallen. It's fallen, man, and he wants to tax these corporations into oblivion to pay for his communist projects. And it's going to backfire, folks. It is going to backfire. New York City seems to be done. Absolutely done. Now, the New York Knicks are in New York City. And the New York Knicks, they came out with a blistering statement to Zohran Mamdani, the communist Democrat frontrunner, to win this election. Folks, they have made it be known they do not endorse him. And Zohran Mamdani pretty much stole the logo of the Knicks. It's iconic. They call New York the Mecca basketball. And Zohran Mamdani, being the communist that he is, just decided to steal the logo of the Knicks for his campaign. And the Knicks, they didn't like it whatsoever. They did not like it whatsoever. You know what, Knicks? Maybe you guys want to try to leave New York City. I mean, move to New Jersey. You guys probably know that the Jets and the New York Giants actually don't even play in the state of New York. They play in New Jersey. If I'm the Knicks, I'm thinking about moving to New Jersey also as well. Because New York City is done. Absolutely done. But let's get into this, guys, because the Knicks, they do not endorse the communists. Here we go. Right over here, guys. Knicks send cease and desist to Mamdani over logo use. Say they, quote, want to make it clear they don't endorse him. Yeah, they're not down with the communist candidate. Now, the NBA as a whole seems to have no problem with communists. You know, they're pretty silent on China. But when it comes to the Knicks themselves, they're rejecting this guy. Absolutely rejecting this guy. It says here, the New York Knicks sent a cease and desist letter to Zohran Mamdani after the New York City mayoral candidate used a logo similar to the team's for a campaign ad, Fox News Digital confirmed. In a statement, the Knicks made it clear they, quote, do not endorse Mr. Mamdani for mayor. Quote, the New York Knicks have sent NYC mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani a cease and desist letter for using the New York Knicks logo to promote his candidacy. The Knicks want to make it clear that we do not endorse Mr. Mamdani for mayor, and we object to its use of our copyrighted logo. We will pursue all legal remedies to enforce our rights. Wow. Wow. But guys, let's just be real. He's going to be the mayor. He is. Mamdani posted the logo on Instagram with the caption, "This is our year. This is our time. Hashtag New York Forever." The location for the post was Madison Square Garden. It has since been deleted. Yeah. So, right here, New York Basketball actually posts this right here. You guys can see. This is pretty much the logo he posted right here. I believe there's several ones right here. No, actually, this is the one right here. Yeah, definitely looks like the Knicks logo. And the Knicks have every right to try and stop this guy from infringing on their logo. But him being the communist that he is, you know, he really doesn't care. This man has actually talked about seizing the means of production. That is pure communism right here, guys. Pure communism. And the people in New York City seem to actually fall for his free stuff everywhere. The problem, man, with communism is you end up running out of other people's money. These large corporations, guys, if Mamdani actually gets his way, all they need to do is leave New York City. That's all they need to do. And then guess what? The money's going to dry up, and he's not going to be able to fund his communist projects. This man is a con man. He's a scam artist. So this is a good thing, man, that the Knicks actually spoke up about this. They don't endorse him, but it's not going to really matter. It's not going to really matter. New York City is cooked either way. Now, of course, it's going to be a lot worse with Mamdani. Andrew Cuomo, he's an establishment Democrat. He's not good either, but he'll be better than Mamdani, okay? Even the current governor, not governor, but Mayor Eric Adams, he's dropped out and he has endorsed Andrew Cuomo. Boy. I mean, but the Democrats, man, they did it to themselves. This is the future of the Democratic Party. New York City's done. It is done.
Wow.
What if the perfect business for introverts has been hiding in plain sight this whole time? Let me tell you why being an introvert is actually your secret weapon in business. While extroverts are...
Sorry. Oh, boy.
Hi, Robert. You ready to check out some videos?
Yes, sir. Let's go.
All right. Again, no particular order, just a bunch of clips of Mamdani, and Robert is going to explain the relevance here. So here we go.
What the purpose is about this entire project is not simply to raise class consciousnness, but to win socialism. And obviously raising class consciousness is a critical part of that. But making sure that we have candidates that both understand that and are willing...
What in the blue hell is that shirt?
Yeah, that's a pretty serious shirt. This is from 2020 when he was speaking at a socialist conference by Zoom, because it was supposed to be an in-person conference, but of course that was the height of COVID. And so we have this. He denies that he's a Marxist. This is clear evidence that he is down the line committed Marxist with a shirt.
I can't pay attention to what he's saying because of a stupid shirt. Look at that. I'm gonna have to close my eyes and look somewhere else. It looks like something from one of those like shows like Star Trek or something, where they get to some alien world, and of course for the show they have to make up how these aliens dress, and it's always like some weird thing, and it's like that. That's kind of what it's like.
Yeah.
All right, let's back up. I was distracted. I did not hear a word he said. All right, here we go.
What the purpose is about this entire project is not simply to raise class consciousness, but to win socialism. And obviously raising class consciousness is a critical part of that. But making sure that we have candidates that both understand that and are willing to put that forward at every which moment that they have, at every which opportunity that they're given. We have to continue to elect more socialists. And we have to ensure that we are unapologetic about our socialism. There are also other issues that we firmly believe in, whether it's BDS, right, or whether it's the end goal of seizing the means of production. Where we do not have the same level.
Seizing the means of production, that's straight up communism.
There you go, my friend. That's exactly why I sent you this clip. That he's talking about the end goal of seizing the means of production. The man's a straight up Marxist. The idea of Marxism is the government owns everything, and they parcel out how much they think you need to you, no matter how hard or not hard that you work.
Yeah, and that's why these systems fail, because you're going to say, okay, we decide what you're going to get, and we're going to make sure everyone gets basically the same thing, as you pointed out, regardless of how hard you work or how hard you don't work, which means there's no incentive to work. It doesn't get you anywhere, and so everyone just becomes lazy and does a crap job because it doesn't matter. You have your job from the government. Everyone has your job from the government. It does not matter how well you do it or how poorly you do it. It's all the same. everyone does a crap job. And I remember way back in the day, you remember this, Robert, you remember a place called the Soviet Union.
I remember it well.
And I remember when I was young and I would hear about like people, Americans who would go visit over there, and people over there would be offering to trade you something for like your pants and so on, because they can't get a good pair of pants over there because it's all crap. All they make is crap. Anyway,
I remember actually long time ago, I knew a guy who was Cuban, and he talked about his life growing up in communist Cuba, Fidel Castro's Cuba, and how every year they would get like 2 pairs of underwear, and the state gives it to you. That's it. You can't just go to the store and buy some. And so he was telling all these very funny stories about how he was trying to get some more underwear and how he had to trade or had to try to finagle it and make all these deals, and it became this huge elaborate thing consuming all his time just to get a pair of underwear. Because this is socialism is a philosophy that mandates scarcity. As David was saying, you get the same amount of money no matter how hard you work, so nobody works hard. There is the threat of the gulag that keeps you doing some minimal work, but it's all low quality. It's all however much you can get away with not doing when they're not looking. And so all the goods are shoddy, and there aren't very many of them. And that's how socialism works.
yeah, and the fundamental problem with these ideologies is, you can have some philosopher sitting down, writing this on paper and stuff, and going, "Oh, this makes sense in my head." It's the biggest problem in the world, Robert, that people saying, "Oh, this works in my head. I can imagine this working in my head, and therefore it will work in the real world." That stupid idea needed to stay in your stupid head because it doesn't work in the real world. Yeah, I can imagine a world where everyone just works super hard for the good of everyone else. Sorry, there's something called human nature, and it doesn't work like that.
David, that's a very important point, actually, because Lenin himself, the founder of the Soviet Union, V.I. Lenin, he, I was reading a biography of him, and he's setting out all this crazy stuff, and the biographer says, well, you have to bear in mind that he was saying all this before the Gulag, before the Ukrainian famine, before communist China, before democratic Kampuchea. He may not have realized that this was the logical outcome of what he was saying. Now, maybe he should have had the sense to realize it, but remember that Zohran Mamdani is saying all this after all that, and yet he's still saying it. So the man knows better, or ought to know better, and it's criminal that we're once again being pushed this failed philosophy that has caused so much destruction.
And it's always the same pitch. Hey, you don't have a lot. Those guys over there got more. Wouldn't it be great if we just took their stuff and gave it to you, and we all split it up, and we all have the same? Yeah, it does make sense. Okay, great. And
Jesus. Anyway, let's go to the next one.
If you're looking to upgrade your heating system this fall or winter, then this is hands down the system you need to be looking at. These new...
Hello, welcome back to American Zone. Griffin here. So we're going to be discussing a developing story today because Somalia just declared an economic crisis after the USAID cuts. Hey guys, American Zone, Griffin here. So, Somalia's freaking out because apparently they're in economic crisis mode after the USAID cuts revealed that tons of foreign aid was going to Somalia. Look at that. Now, this could have fraud written all over it, probably somewhere. So we're going to be breaking it down in this video and explaining what this could mean going forward.
A host of international aid organizations have disputed that. They've detailed how many lives have been lost. Also, Nick Kristof of the New York Times had an extensive piece in the New York Times on Sunday, first-hand reporting on the deaths being caused by the cuts in aid. And he went on to say this. I want to show a tweet he put up. He said, I also obtained an internal Trump administration memo stating that the cost of shutting down USAID is $6.4 billion over 2 years. That sum could save more than 1 million children's lives. Instead, it is being spent to shut down programs that saves lives. How do you account for that? How do you respond?
Well, that wasn't a memo. That was somebody who wrote an email giving their opinion internally. That is not an official document. That's someone who didn't agree with our decision. This is not about cutting aid. We're going to do it.
It does cost
We're gonna
money to
give
shut
more
down
humanitarian
AID,
aid.
doesn't it? That's a fact.
No, we didn't shut it down. We moved, well, a couple things. We shut down AID because it was a dysfunctional organization. We moved it under the State Department. Number two, we are going to do more foreign aid than any country in the world. We're going to do more than anyone in the world, again, this year. But we're going to do it the right way. We're going to do it holistically. We're going to do it as part of an integrated foreign policy. We are not going to fund an NGO industrial complex that built itself up, that was taking a substantial percentage of the money and not going directly to the recipients. It was going to these organizations that had multi-billion-dollar projects and budgets. We're not going to continue to do it that way. We are going to provide aid. We're providing aid now. We just rolled out our new initiative on health. It's going to be much more successful and much more effective. We're going to enter into direct compacts with the countries. We're going to empower our embassies and our ambassadors to direct which projects we fund and how much money countries are going to be receiving. So we are restructuring the way we do aid. It's going to be far more effective, and it's going to be integrated into our holistic foreign policy.
That's all in the future. But are you standing by that comment? You're saying that no one
has died?
died?
Now. That's not in the future.
No one
it's
has
happening
died
now.
because of the aid cuts? Are all those aid organizations
That's
fine?
ridiculous. Well, first of all, then they died because England didn't give enough money, or Canada didn't give more, or China did. Let's blame the other countries that don't do any foreign aid. How about China? I mean, China's the second largest economy in the world. They don't give money to these
So you're
projects.
no longer disputing that the aid cuts have cost people's lives. You're no longer disputing that.
It didn't. I think anybody who tells you that somehow it's the United States, if we cut $1, somehow we're responsible for some horrific thing that's going on in the world, is just not true. Beyond that, I would say that in some of these places,
that dollar's not going
the
to
reason why the aid
someone
didn't
in
get there.
medicine,
No,
someone's
excuse
going
me,
to die.
George. One of the reasons why some of these places didn't get the aid is not because we cut the aid. It's because there's a war going on and the aid never got to the people. So in Sudan, for example, it's not just a humanitarian catastrophe. It's a war zone. Okay, the aid is stolen. The aid is impeded. In fact, they use aid as a tool against the people, and so blocking aid is a tool and an arm of war. So in some of these places, the reason why the aid isn't getting there is it can't be distributed. Look at Haiti. One of the reasons why aid can't be distributed in Haiti is you can send all the aid in the world you want. It gets hijacked and stolen by criminal gangs that control the country.
Marco Rubio lashed out after George Stephanopoulos kind of got into it with him over the USAID cuts, and he defended Trump's administration's work in coordination with Doge, Elon Musk, to find ways to cut these fraudulent aid programs. Now, for example, Somalia. That was receiving tons of foreign aid from the United States, and almost none of it actually got to the people it was supposed to go to. Now, in most cases, it was fraudulently claimed at the government level, or it was stolen by thieves, gang members, or other entities that exist in Somalia. And that is why, guys, why the Trump administration's choice to make these USAID cuts are justified, and Marco Rubio did an excellent job at describing exactly why. You see, Rubio did not hold back, and it's good that he exposed the corruption that was going on with USAID. You see, his fiery exchange with George Stephanopoulos. Now, he broke down the reality of the situation that for years, billions of U.S. taxpayer dollars had been funneled through USAID programs with little to no accountability. Now, the media loves to frame foreign aid as some sort of moral obligation, but what's truly immoral is allowing hard-earned American taxpayer money to poof into corrupt systems overseas while U.S. communities continue to struggle. Rubio backed the Trump administration's bold move to reevaluate and slash wasteful USAID funding, especially in nations like Somalia. Remember when Trump talked about in his address to Congress, he's like Alapoko, I'm making up a name, but the point is it was some country over in Africa, over there somewhere, where he's like, no one's even heard of this place, and it's like transgender mice. And it's like, what? That kind of crazy stuff. No, that is stuff that gets cut, needs to be cut. It is showing extreme levels of fraud and theft. You see, he pointed out that it's not anti-humanitarian to demand results. That makes sense. Like, if you're going to give an addict money, do you really think that if it's really a problematic addict, they're going to necessarily use the money to get food or shelter? No, they might try to get drugs. So you want to actually see results. You might have conditions. Be like, hey, I'll give you this, but I want to see this, because it's not like you're trying to do it out of greed or even control. You're trying to make sure the money is actually being used for what you want it for, to help people. It's common sense when you're trying to distribute foreign aid. When only pennies on the dollar actually reach starving families, though, there's a problem. And the rest just poofs into the hands of corrupt officials or criminals. That is not aid. You are giving bad guys money. You're giving the bad guys money. You are funding corruption. You are funding wars. You are funding crime. You are distributing aid to the guys that don't and shouldn't have it. They don't need it, but they love taking it. It doesn't matter how badly Somalia wants to declare an emergency over their economy and healthcare. It doesn't change the fact that that money should not be going to the criminals. It shouldn't. It should be going to the very specific, good intention thing that it was designed for.
What happened here? What's going on in America? Same people here in America from Somalia.
AI might create more millionaires in 5 years than the internet did in 20. Disappear for a month.
Let's talk about Ilhan Omar's people in Minnesota. So they brought about 80,000 of these Somali Muslims, and they grouped them in one spot, and then they used that to elect her to Congress. That's how she got there. Okay, now, one thing you need to remember, according to the stats, is over 90% of these people have availed themselves of some sort of social service welfare program. Okay, now, the authorities in Minnesota have a huge investigation because these people have come up with all kind of different scams. Scams saying they were going to feed children, scams for housing, scams for fake marriages, fake divorces, you name it. They came here and they started scamming the system like nobody would believe. And these are her people all grouped together in Minnesota.
Most of you can't even open your mouth to even talk to your leaders back home. You can't even speak in the street. And you come to a country that has given you the liberty, the freedom. And now you abuse it and you feel that it's okay. And we have a lot of liberals standing for it. That's crazy, bro.
I had to send my child to one of the 24-hour daycare centers because this is the only 24-hour daycare in Minnesota. The Somalis would not give me a tour. Like, they did not want me to bring, like, my kids to their daycare. And it was because they was doing daycare fraud, come to find out. And another thing with them, they made it very clear that their only agenda is to benefit the Somali community. Like,
yeah, y'all Somalis won. Y'all literally chased me out of my own state because I was just trying to help y'all. But, you know what? Y'all got what y'all wanted. I left Minnesota. I'm going to be staying here in Tennessee now for a little bit until things cool down because y'all were spamming my mom's phone. Y'all were leaking my address. Y'all were sending me death threats. Like, y'all were just doing way too much. Like, yeah, I'm going to have to cool down for a little bit. Stay here, make amends because hopefully there's not Somalis in Tennessee, but we'll see.
African-American woman about 25 years ago apparently warned the Somali community about what's going to take place in Minnesota. She basically warned them and said, you guys are going to become just like us. You don't take initiative and open up community and invest in the youth, etc., etc., etc. You don't need to do all those things. Because one thing that Somalis do have, unfortunately African-Americans don't, that Somali culture is rooted in Islam. It's rooted in La ilaha illallah. And when you see situations like this, it's so upsetting because the line between Somalis and African Americans in a few generations will absolutely disappear because we forgot about Islam. Well, a lot of parents combat this and send their kids back to Africa because the United States will eat you alive. I'm sure this happens not just in Minnesota, but in UK and Canada as well. But if we want things to change, we need to keep the main thing the main thing. These individuals above me lack purpose. You lack purpose, you get caught up with the law. Why are we doing this to ourselves? This is definitely worse than the African Americans. Because had the African Americans had Islam, I don't think they'd be so corrupt and getting up to foolishness as they are today. We gotta do better, people.
If you aren't from Minnesota and you want to know how the Emin Somalis are, let me educate y'all. And I've been living here my whole life, so you don't even gotta fact check me. Fact number one, they're all soft. I don't know what y'all be seeing online with them posting up with pew-pews and all those thug photos, they're all soft, they're all sweet. If y'all just meet them, then, okay, they're not the best people, but they're not that intimidating. You should be never scared of Minnesota Somalis. They're not threatening. You can go up to them and be like, you baby. Fact number 2, make sure to wear a mask around them. You'll need it. And no, a regular mask won't do. You're gonna need a biomedical grade mask. Like the one people be using when they're around someone with a highly dangerous disease. This one, y'all can really understand. If you just look at them, they look like they smell. Like this one isn't even too crazy. Like y'all can just know when you see them. Fact number 3, none of them can dress. Again, this is when you can just look at them and be like, yeah, I see what you're talking about. Like this one's even too crazy. Like they be having no drip at all. Wearing Nike Techs with track runners. Like, come on. Like what Lil Uzi say? You got on Dior with a Nike Tech. That be that corny shit. I'm telling you, that's their whole fair, bro. It be so trash. Just throw them all away. Holy, bro. But yeah, that's all for this one. I can keep going and going, but I think y'all get the gist. If not, comment down below. Let me know if I need to do a part 2. But yeah.
So many issues in Minneapolis, St. Paul right now with Somali gangs, and these aren't like our gangs where they hang out in their hood and then they run drugs and control it. They'll hang out in one spot but commit different crimes like credit card fraud and shit like that, and other places violence. Like last spring they went to I think it was a high school basketball game, a Somali gang, and they beat up a dude on the bench with a pipe or a crowbar. And then last spring at University of Minnesota there was a shooting at graduation. So, but I'm sure, and they're calling Somalia their home country, but I'm sure they take over Minnesota, that's going to be just fine.
Bending the knee to the Somali population and declaring that Minneapolis, a once great American city, is now Somali. Obsession with multiculturalism and virtue signaling has created a situation where a sitting member of the United States Congress is pledging allegiance to a foreign nation. I wanted to show that clip first because everything else in this video will make so much more sense. They have no appreciation for our country and no intention on assimilating into American life and giving back and contributing to their fellow countrymen because they don't see Americans as their countrymen. They are in Minneapolis city government, Minnesota state government, and United States federal government with the sole intent of passing legislation that takes American taxpayer money and direct it exclusively to the pockets of Somalis. But let's check out this disturbing next clip of the mayor of Minneapolis, who is whiter than mayonnaise, bending the knee to the Somali population and declaring that Minneapolis, a once great American city, is now Somalian territory.
Maaga Egawa Jacob Fry, Doke Magalada, Minneapolis. Tamaan, Shaabka, Somaliyed, Kaayamid, Mogadishu, Delaware, Hargeisa, Mosaso, Edabo, Kismayo, Wahan Raba, in An Idin Shego. Minneapolis, Wa Magaladina, Wahad Kamid Tihin, Laf Dabarka.
What if your workforce had no limits? Customers globally need fast, accurate answers around the clock.
Yeah, let me stop right here. Minneapolis is 1-1, and here in Columbus is the second to the population. What happened here, I'm gonna give you a short story. There was a few Somalian young men. I don't know if they were from here or they were from Minneapolis. They came down here and they carjacked the dealership, robbed the bank, and went on a high-speed chase. And the Columbus, Ohio police pulled them over. I think one of them got unalive. 2 of them went to prison. And yeah, they this would happen here. It's on. Look on ABC 6 News, and they were Somalians that did this. Second thing that they, I believe that they were either or one of them. The second thing that would happen here is that one time I was behind. One time this woman got into an accident. I'm on Morris Road. You see my intro. I'm on Morris Road, right? There was an accident. It was a Somalian woman, and her car was an accident. This other Somalian woman, which was the car was across the street. This other Somalian woman was 2 cars ahead of us, had the nerve to stop her car. She didn't drive her car over to the woman to see if she okay. She stopped her car in the middle of Morris Road. Morris Road in Columbus, Ohio, is one of the busiest roads in Columbus. And to see, and she wanted to check on her fellow sister in the faith. Why didn't she go over there and do that? No, she stops her car in the middle of the Morris Road. This is what they do, man. My neighbor lived around some Somalian people, one of my closest friends, and how where she was living among them, they would smoke this kind of stuff that it would really, you would get a high in contact with them, because most people, they're going to do, smoke. They usually should keep a thing by the door so it wouldn't make so much. So she had to call over to the office and have them talk to them about what they were doing, and so I guess they finally chilled out because these young men were coming over and smoking with the young ladies. The third incident was the Somalian man, right? Same person I'm talking about. So Somalian men are kind of aggressive, and some of them, and so this would trip me out. This guy. Now my friend is she's an older woman. She stayed by herself, and she seen the guy's wife. Do you know that this guy was stalking her, trying to get her number? And she said, "I'm not interested." And he's trying to talk to her and said, "Oh, that's my sister." And she said, "No, I'm not interested in you." They have really a culture I've ever seen in my life. It's something. So yeah, we know about this in Columbus, Ohio. Some of us have come across them. And that's from my friend. And like I said, the one woman here that wanted, work in my house, but I didn't want her cleaning my apartment. I didn't want to clean it. And then, she tried to, it was through a healthcare agency, and you know how they come in and they clean your apartment. But I didn't want that because I'm like, I'm an able-bodied person. I don't need someone to come in and clean. And then, some of them do carry a certain scent on them. And I just didn't want, the lady was nice, but I said, no, I'm good. And she tried her damnedest to get me to sign it so she can get paid to come. She said, I don't have to do anything. I can clean for you and anything. I said, no, I'm good. I just don't feel like someone invading my space. But that's one of the things that I've come across. But yeah, they are people. Yeah, but that situation in Mamdani, boy, and Elmar, and see, she kind of leans into that socialist too. Elmar, that thing, that's her name. I can't say her last name, but she leans in the same way Mamdani do. And not only that, the guy that was running for, I think, mayor, a Somalian man, they got caught up in some big fraud thing that's up there about aid, and there was a big U.S. attorney bust up there. A couple people covered it. One got channel is Paralegal something. He covers that. But yeah, they just and what it is, in perspective, due to the 9/11, I mean, no offense, I know that they have some people who lost some people in that building, but it's just right now that just wouldn't really look good on that half of it. That's my personal opinion, because I wonder if he's trying to do what his fellow Muslims over there in Britain and other places are doing. So they're trying to get into those positions. And now what they see in Britain, that they have taken up different government parts, and now they trying to demand their own flag and everything over in Britain. So I wonder if it's going in that direction, that they next thing you know they be putting up their own flag over here, like they do in Britain, and what they doing over in the Netherlands. Is it France or the Netherlands? They're doing the same thing over, and I think they're trying to really get them back, because they was trying to bring more of the law, certain laws that even though it's not practice. I made a video of it. It didn't get that many views for some reason, but they trying to bring the same laws that they practice in their religion over here, and so they've been getting behind it. And there's certain things that they've done, like for example, in Hilliard, Ohio, out here, I probably mentioned this, that it's an organization called CARE, and it's a Islamic organization. They wanted to get behind this project, and it's a huge building out there. It's like it takes up 5-6 acres, but Hilliard, the city of Hilliard, don't want to give, and they gave them some pushback, because there's a lot of doctors' offices. They want to turn it into their own, center and mosque and everything, and probably what other stuff they want to go on. It's not for basically the community. And really, there's a segment of Muslims out there, in Hilliard, around the Hilliard area, but it's not like a vague memory of it. So they stopped it. This little town in Hilliard, Ohio, stopped them from bringing their stuff. So they really slowly bringing in their own agenda in different places. So next thing you know, it's one thing they have their own worship places, because they have their own mosque here, they have their own business here. It's like they just trying to slowly come, and they have they even have a farm out west for them. They have their own farm here is out west. I saw one time I had to accidentally came across on the channel, and I'm like, wow, and it was some Muslim people, showing cows, chickens, and goats and all that stuff, getting dairy out there. And so, but yeah, here in Ohio, and particularly around the Metro Columbus area, yeah, on the outskirts they did this. So there's probably a few of them local here too, and representative. So yeah, but I don't know if it's like the gangs are like that here. The only young people know that is the ones that's probably in their 19s or 20s or cool, but they haven't got there yet. But they're cracked down here in Columbus. If they try to pull it, because they crack down, they pop a couple of them for doing that. And then I think a couple of them did a couple credit card fraud here. That's some of the some younger Somalians did that. They popped them. And I've seen their cars come down here from Minnesota. But yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to make this video, but yeah, New York, y'all better be careful, man. And excuse me. Yeah, same thing they doing. And respect, I understand that they had some people, but even when they, my friend was even saying that when they made that memorial to them, it's like at the time of the towers going down, it made it seem like that the way they designed it seemed like it showed that America is kind of defeated in a way. I mean, it was showed that in a way, even though it's supposed to give a memorial to the people, but the way that the design was, it's just the way she explained it. You know, so maybe that's the reason why they're getting some pushback. And then Mamdani, 23 and a half years later, trying to push this agenda, socialist agenda. Yeah, if I was New York, I'd be really suspect with him of all people. Be kind of suspected of that. All right, then, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this is a really interesting video. Shout out to the creators for the content. But yeah, that's something. And then it's trying to turn to Britain. It's not like other people. We have other people here, but they're not trying to get up in them areas like they have. I mean, you have other people of Hindu religion. Of course, you have people in the Jewish faith here and Christian faith. But yeah, it's just. And they probably got position in hospital and government too, but they're not trying to push that stuff. They're socialist stuff, like Omar and Mamdani here. So it's an agenda behind it, and you hear what the guys were saying. All right, then. It's going for New York. I'll feel for you. Hope good luck in your election. Take care. Be blessed. See you on the next video.